So, welcome back to Health, Nutrition and I, talking about something which is affecting us globally. And surprisingly, in India, we are number 3 as far as obesity is concerned.
Health, Nutrition and I with Ishi Khosla.
And once again, we have Neerja Hajela with us. So, Neerja, first just tell us, what do you do?
So, thanks, Ishi. Thank you for having me here. And I'm with Yakult Danone India Private Limited. I'm the head of science and regulatory affairs. And I've been dealing with microbes for the last 18 years. I have deep dived into the whole new fascinating science of the microbes. You'll be surprised to know that. And when I learned after I came here that, we are actually more microbes than human cells. And a large number of these microbes are in the gut. And
So you must be wondering, the audience must be wondering, why do we have somebody who deals with microbes and the gut
because
at the show for obesity?
Yeah. So as we go along, you'll realize that it is these microbes which also determine whether we're going to be lean or whether we're going to be obese. And I've been doing a lot around the gut microbes and a lot around probiotics. Probiotics are for life. The term essentially means for life. And these are good bacteria which are absolutely essential for our digestive system, for our immunity.
But how does it work with obesity?
So basically, there have been studies, maybe a decade ago, where we had the scientist Jeff Gordon who saw that, obese mice had very different kind of microbes as compared to lean mice. So largely we have 5 different groups of microbes, of which Fermicutes and bacteriodetes are almost 90% of the microbes in our gut. And what he saw was that there was an increase in the Fermicutes and a decrease in bacteriodetes in obese mice. Interestingly, when he transplanted the gut microbiota from obese mice into lean mice, the lean mice became obese. And that is when the whole story came in that, possibly the gut microbes could also be one of the factors for obesity.
You're absolutely right, because as a practitioner for so many years, and of course, if you look at the global statistics, the alarming rate at which obesity is growing, despite the fact that we have been counting calories. So, as students of nutrition, as practitioners of nutrition, we were always trained to believe that it's calories in and calories out which will determine your weight. And it was very clear, negative calorie balance, you lose weight; positive calorie balance, you gain weight. And the people were eating less, starving, going on diets, and then gymming, burning out, so that equation would work towards weight loss. But that was only partially true. It really did not.
It does not have to do with the calories. That's what I believed in also for a very long time.
So do we. So we have been practicing. But as a practitioner, we still did not make the difference with people who were literally, their weight loss was so important for them. They were professionally, it was important for them to be a certain weight, whether it was pilots or whether it was people in the show business and celebrities. And they were literally, some of them were depressed because it was not making that difference to their weight or their body shapes. And in some cases, I have also seen youngsters gymming 2 to 3 hours and eating so frugally and gaining weight. So there obviously is more to it. And I think that what really has made a difference in my practice is when I have started working at the gut level. And because what is impacting our gut is our food. So there are certain foods which impact our gut microbiome, like you said, negatively, and some foods which act as positive boosters for the gut microbiome. And that science really not only helps us to deal with obesity, but with literally every disease. And that's what scientists are now saying, what Hippocrates said so many years ago, 2,500 years ago, that all diseases begin in the gut, and it can't be more true.
Yeah.
So ultimately, we have to understand why people, the question that I always get when people come to me, Because if they've done everything, they've done the calorie counting, they've starved themselves, they've done everything. And yet, why am I not losing weight? Because even just a trace of a trigger grain, which is going to harm your microbiome and which then translates into hormonal imbalance and insulin resistance and the whole inflammation cascade, that can be just the simple answer. So we then deal with identifying those foods, removing them. So it's really like an elimination protocol. And of course, working on their hormones and then giving them gut support. And what happens in obesity management is we also need to address nutrients. Very often, people who have bad guts or have unhealthy guts are not absorbing their micronutrients and macronutrients effectively. So it's a paradoxical situation. I get obese individuals who are like 120 kgs, 130 kgs with the worst kind of nutritional status. They'll be deficient, seriously deficient in B12 and D and iron and all of that. And it obviously means that it's not the quantity of food because they are so obese. It's
is
the
the
quality
quality.
of food which is causing this imbalance. So then we also need to understand that these micronutrients are also important for weight reduction, particularly things like chromium, magnesium, iodine, etc., etc. So if we don't have enough of those, the metabolic rate is going to drop because the hormones are not going to be in optimum levels.
Health, Nutrition and I with Ishi Khosla.
Neerja, one more thing every time we talk about obesity is let's deal with obesity as a sustainable solution.
Yeah.
Not
very
as
true.
a goalpost that I touch this weight and then I'm okay. And
For a particular occasion, I have to lose those 10 kilos, and then there I gain them all back. And
no,
then
and
much
more.
Yeah.
If I
True,
lose 10, I
true,
gain back 12.
True.
Because every time I lose weight, I think this is very important for all the audiences to know that each time you lose weight, you are not just losing fat.
You're also losing muscle.
And there's nothing in the world that can stop that from
Yeah,
happening.
yeah.
So you are losing muscle, which means you are lowering your metabolic rate each time you diet. And I have patients like that. The first time, ma'am, the diet worked. The second time, what happened? It's not working because your body has been damaged.
Yes.
So let's not look at weight cycling and weight gaining and loss. It should be a sustainable solution which is personalized for you.
Yeah,
And
true. So, Ishi, a lot of your obesity is also related to inflammation. We're hearing a lot about inflammation. In fact, the other day I was hearing about the anti-inflammatory diet and all of that. So, I was just reading this very recent paper which has shown that when you have a diet which is high in your fat and sugar and all of that, it actually increases endotoxins in the gut. And it is these endotoxins then which disrupt the intestinal wall and enter into your circulatory system, causing inflammation and insulin resistance. So it is that metabolic syndrome, which is caused just because of what you eat.
Yes, absolutely. So that's where it all starts. That's the physiology of it. What is happening to when we have the microbiota, which is negative, outnumbering the good ones, we're going to be in a state of dysbiosis. Now, dysbiosis means that they are not going to be working for us and they produce toxins, and the intestinal barrier, like you rightly said, gets broken with these toxins. And zonulin is one, occludin is the other, and of course,
your tight junction proteins. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when the wall of the intestine, which is meant to be a barrier, a protection, an immune barrier for us, opens up, it's literally like your country's borders are opening up. So the wrong elements are going to infiltrate. So we are going to have the toxins that we eat in, from pollutants around us, poisons around us entering our bloodstream, and half or partially digested food because it hasn't got a chance to get fully digested and it's being taken up in the bloodstream. Now, all these multiple factors add up to your
inflammation.
They alarm your immune system.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to protect you.
Yeah.
So inflammation, actually, the body is trying to fight those toxins, and it is going to make antibodies.
And also 70% of your immune system is in the gut. So,
yes. So when
you can just imagine what happens there.
Absolutely. And at that point, when you have the inflammatory cascade, then it is going to be according to your genetics, which organ, which cell, which tissue is going to get destroyed or damaged. And that sets you up for autoimmunity, for diabetes, for hypertension, heart disease, and of course, we're talking about obesity, because this leads to water retention. And people don't realize it when they're inflamed. The first thing that you lose is water, because that when you're taking out the wrong grains or the wrong triggers, you're going to be losing the inflammatory retention.
And also the dysbiotic microbiota, basically what it really does it is that if you have more of the harmful microbes in the gut, they tend to extract more energy from the food you eat, resulting in more calorie intake,
Yeah.
and which then gets deposited as fat.
Yeah.
So the imbalance of the gut microbiota can actually result in more calorie intake, and which then becomes, your
Yes.
fat cells.
Yes, absolutely. So we have toxins and we have inflammation and then we have fat storage.
Yes, yeah.
Health, Nutrition and I with Ishi Khosla.
Hi, Dr. Hajela. I'm Shruti Chaturvedi, and I work in the field of composite heritage, peace building, conflict transformation. My work includes a lot of travel and exposure to all kinds of food in different regions of South Asia and beyond. My question to you is that is there any way to say reset my gut and flush out the microbes that should not be there?
You can actually, you have something called as fecal microbiota transplants, and this treatment is actually very effective for people who have Clostridium difficile infection. So they have seen that even as compared to your conventional treatment with vancomycin, fecal microbiota transplants are more effective. So you essentially are transplanting the gut microbiota from a healthy person, a healthy donor, to a diseased patient, and it has been effective and maybe there to stay in the future.
Health, Nutrition and I with Ishi Khosla.
Hi, Ishi. I watched the first episode of Health, Nutrition and I, and I've been meaning to ask, why am I fat?
Well, you should not blame yourself. It's a function of what has happened in our environment. Our ecosystem has changed, our food has changed, and that is squarely going to determine the gut health and the gut microbial diversity, and you may not even realize it. So don't blame yourself, don't blame your genes. Focus on what is happening inside your gut, what you're eating and what you're not eating and what you're digesting.
Health, Nutrition and I with Ishi Khosla.
I'm sure the audience is then going to ask Neerja that if I eat probiotics and build up a healthy microbiome, am I going to lose weight?
It's just not about a healthy microbiome. I think we have to consider all aspects. So a well-balanced diet, like, your different food groups, like you said, physical activity. Another very important factor is sleep. There are a lot of studies which have shown that people who do not get this regular 8 hours of sleep are more obese than those who do. So among all of that, and then of course the microbes, because the microbes are largely responsible for digesting whatever you're eating, absorbing your nutrients in the adequate amounts, and also boosting your immune system and down-regulating inflammation.
Yes.
So a healthy balance of the gut microbes is very, very important. And according to a lot of research papers, it is suggested that the 85% of the microbes in your gut should be your beneficial microbes like lactobacillus and bifidobacteria. And about 15% we cannot do away with the harmful ones. So we got to have them as well. So it's important to balance the gut microbes.
Yeah. So I think I don't think we can also tamper with this microbial world
Yes.
ourselves, but we must know that our food is what is going to determine
the kind of
balance.
Microbes you have. Absolutely, Ishi.
Yeah.
And in there are studies which have shown that by changing your diet, you can actually change the composition of your microbes within 24 hours.
Yeah, I see that as a complete
So a diet which is high in carbs or in
the wrong kind of
the
carbs.
wrong kind of carbs, or even in the wrong kind of protein or fats, can actually just disrupt your microbiome.
Absolutely. And that's what I think where I step in, and I can share so many examples of people who were just doing everything by the book. They were eating on time, they were eating so-called the right grains, healthy grains, and they didn't have health issues except that they couldn't
Lose
lose weight despite exercising regularly and just changing. Say this particular example, it was having oats as a healthy grain. It is a healthy grain, but we know today because of gluten intolerance, we are losing tolerance for a lot of healthy foods, including, say, oats and corn and soya. So he didn't realize that. And all we did was to change the oats from to a different grain. We gave him quinoa and some brown rice, and the man lost 35 kgs in 4 months. It was like such rapid weight loss, and he wasn't starving. He was exercising better. He had more stamina, but this was obviously causing low-grade inflammation in his system. So, according to the science that I understand today as a practitioner and as an academician, that it is the grains first and then anything else that counts. So the choice of grains, the quantity of grains, which is basically carbohydrate, and the timing of the grain are critical. And then sugar. We've always known sugar as a poison, as a something which we need to
Although
do
some
away
amount
with.
of sugar is required by the
Yeah.
brain as well.
So, but it
yes.
feeds the wrong organisms. So you can take sweetness from jaggery, you can take sweetness from honey. Honey is a prebiotic also, and has other enzymes which help to burn calories and improve metabolism.
Health, Nutrition and I with Ishi Khosla.
So I need to debunk a big myth here, since we're talking about nutrients, that a low-fat diet is certainly not good for weight loss and sustainable weight loss. Because when you reduce fats, you're going to increase carbohydrates, which will make you hungry and worsen insulin resistance. So we need good fats for satiety. We need good fats to improve the the balance between the carbs, proteins, and fats,
Also
and
for
gut health.
absorption of your fat-soluble vitamins.
Of course, and for gut health.
Yeah,
We know that certain oils like virgin coconut oil, desi ghee, help to repair a gut. And virgin coconut oil actually improves microbial health because it is helpful in destroying candida, which is an overgrowth of one of the wrong organisms. So yes, this is a very important part, that we're not going to eat olive oil. We can't. We need to make food in our water. We need to make food tasteless. So those are things which really need to be corrected in people's minds. And as a matter of fact, I start the day with good fats for a lot of my patients, and it works like a charm. Not only to lose weight, but it also helps to repair the gut and
also
take
the
care of a lot of
satiety,
take care of a lot of other health issues.
Absolutely.
So I think that's a very big one. And the right grains, like we just said, sugar and good fats, and optimum amount of proteins. High proteins are really not needed, but yes, if you want to go up a little bit is fine, but too much of protein is going to cause inflammation, would worsen inflammation. So it's just the right amount of protein and the right sources.
Makes all the difference.
A lot of people are taking soy protein and whey protein and these processed proteins, which can be again very highly pro-inflammatory. So too much sugar is pro-inflammatory. These processed fats and refined oils can be pro-inflammatory. Processed proteins can be pro-inflammatory, and in general, the processed food and processed meats will also be pro-inflammatory. Yeah, and I think it's also something which affects the urban, particularly urban population, is the constant or the regular use of antibiotics.
Yeah.
Which again destroy the flora.
They destroy the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yes. And that's when you are on a course of antibiotics, you will end up with diarrhea. And that's why a lot of doctors today give probiotics along with an antibiotic to just restore the balance of the gut flora. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But I
And
think
if you
it's,
just look at this theory of Barker's theory, if you remember
yes, yeah,
that malnutrition in the womb
yes.
increases the
Chances
chances
of
of
the,
obesity and metabolic syndrome later in life and
yes,
predicts the risk for it. But
yes,
so
yes,
it's all really falling in place because
yes.
when you have malnutrition, obviously you don't have a good gut flora, and that ultimately leads to inflammation, low grade inflammation, and then cascades into
So, Ishi, I mean, India, we battled with malnutrition, undernutrition at one point, and today we have the triple burden of malnutrition. We have overnutrition, we have hidden hunger, and I think all of this is what is resulting in this high incidence of non-communicable diseases. I think 7 out
absolutely
of
bang
every
on.
10 Indians suffers from, cancer or obesity or type 2 diabetes or heart disease. And it's very sad to see the state of affairs of our country
Topping the
today.
charts wrong.
Yeah, yeah. So we need to really,
Get
I
deep
think,
down into the
yes, and
reasons for this.
understand
Yeah.
what is really happening
Yeah.
to our body and,
Yes, absolutely. And like I said, the malnutrition that I see in obese patients is frightening.
Yeah.
Sometimes they say B12 is not even detectable.
imagine. Just
And
and
these
also
are
vitamin D.
vitamin D.
Vitamin D deficiency is so
Serious.
common today.
So, and vitamin D is all about inflammation also. One of the things it helps is in cutting back on inflammation.
Down regulating.
So, yes. So, obviously, your bodies are inflamed that the vitamin D is being
Yeah,
completely exhausted.
yeah, yeah. In summary, it should be a well balanced diet, like you said, all the food groups, and we should not miss out the fiber and water. Water is something we tend to sometimes miss out, especially during the winter months. And adequate amount of physical activity, at least 30 minutes of something you enjoy, trying to reduce our stress levels to whatever extent is possible, 7 to 8 hours of sleep, and not to forget the gut microbes. They play a very, very important role as well.
Couldn't be simpler.
Health, Nutrition and I with Ishi Khosla.
Thanks, Ishi. That was very new information, but it all seems very simple. And no matter what one may say, weight loss is a struggle. I think that's why we have so many of these new weight loss drugs, Ozempic and Mounjaro. What are your thoughts on these weight loss drugs?
Neerja, you're absolutely right. The struggle is going on despite things being very, we know much more about these issues. Weight loss drugs, as I observed them in the last 30, 40 years, have come and gone. No drug has really proved to be safe. And if you look at weight loss, it is not only meant to be safe, but also be sustainable. And these drugs, I think, may be questionable when it comes to meeting both the requirements. Because these are the ones which you're referring to, I guess, are the GLP-1 agonists, which are really semaglutide, are available and have got approval. They are, people are just lapping them up, and they are early days for proving their safety. And something which I feel terribly concerned about is the fact that they are not losing that kind of fat. They are, depending on studies that you quote, but between 50 to 80% what is lost is muscle. And that's serious. And we actually can see that sarcopenia in patients who are taking those drugs. So that's why you have those typical faces that you see when this drug is being used. And it's not only the sarcopenia, it's also the fact that malnutrition will set in because you're eating a fraction of what you typically are meant to eat. And if that's the way to lose weight, I think it needs to be re-examined and revisited. I personally feel these are early days and people are excited about it and are losing weight. But according to me, they are fraught with risks. And you cannot be on these drugs for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And as long as you are on them, they're helping you drop weight.
The minute you give
but
them
you
up,
give them up
yeah.
and you regain the weight, not only the weight, but more. Because you have lost so much muscle.
Yeah.
And the sad part is when you regain that, you are regaining more fat.
Yeah, and
basically inflammatory fat and the viscera, which is serious. So they are certainly questionable and should be taken with prudence and discretion. under the advice of a practitioner, and yet they may not be the solutions unless and until you follow it up with the right kind of lifestyle.
Lifestyle
Which
and
means,
diet
like we
and
just
everything.
discussed, eating right, and an anti-inflammatory diet, and exercising, and sleeping enough. So there are really no shortcuts, according to me.
Yeah. And what these drugs actually do is they mimic GLP-1, which is a satiety hormone, and they also slow down your gastric emptying time.
you can't eat.
So it just makes you feel fuller for a longer period
Yeah.
of time, and then you just cannot take in more food. And I agree with you, but I mean,
And one
unless and until there's enough scientific data around their use, of course there is, because it has got the US FDA approval, Ozempic has, and but nevertheless, I think to be used with a lot of caution and as advised by the doctor himself,
if at all.
if at all. Yeah.
And life-threatening consequences have been reported in one of the recent British medical journals. It is reported to have 82 deaths related to Ozempic and Mounjaro. And I know somebody who's died in just 3 weeks of the drug, and somebody who has had pancreatitis with 1 dose. So
Basically,
it is
these drugs
serious.
are not so much for overweight as much as they are for treating type 2 diabetes. So I think there is also a little confusion around what they actually are doing.
No, they have been approved for both.
Yeah.
Yeah, for obesity and for
Yeah.
diabetes. But
Mounjaro
yes,
has been.
yeah, but according to me, it's very clear anything which is going to be physiologically against your system is fraught with risks. And anything which is life-threatening risk is to be really viewed. We have to see the risks of the drug versus the risks of obesity.
And also you are basically disrupting your normal digestion.
Absolutely.
By ensuring that the food stays in the stomach for a much longer period of time, you don't know what you're taking in. I agree with you. I think more study, more research needs to go into how they really
But we don't want victims.
Yeah, we don't want victims. True.
Yeah. So I think circling back to what we just spoke about, that there has to be...
There is no shortcut to
losing
weight and to...
And you cannot be losing weight and being slim at the cost of being malnourished.
Malnourished, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So my sugars would be great and my weight would be great, but I have a terrible look and I no glow on my face.
Look and no glow on the face.
And so then malnutrition is also associated with autoimmunity and several other problems. And bone loss.
It's a vicious circle.
And dehydration. These are very known complications. So it's been there only for a short while. So I guess it should be. And so I just want to thank you for being with us once again,
so much
taking
for
out the
having
time.
Me here. Thank you for having me here.
We'll see you again on Health, Nutrition and I. See you soon.
Health, Nutrition and I with Ishi Khosla.